Hello and welcome to Everyday Eternal number 115, your favorite, most deceptively named bi-weekly Legacy podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our brand new Patreon supporter, Scott Waterfield. If you want to support the running of the show directly, you can support us on patreon.com/everydayeternal. The end of the year is here and we got everybody assembled. Avengers Assembly, we got Callum, we got Madden, we got this guy called Julian. Guys, how's it doing? It's amazing that we got everybody in here again.
Yeah, good evening. The team together, as you said, it's pretty cool to do a breakdown, catch up with Matt, see what he's been up to, introduce him to what's been going on in Legacy, this little format we talk about. And,
you've heard about it, right?
Yeah, but just have a really cool catch up. It's going to be really fun. We've got some good things to talk about this episode as well. So yeah, how you been, Matt?
Good. I think now I'm the old man of the podcast who basically barely plays and just theory crafts. So,
I mean,
good.
Siege Rhino is still good. Don't worry.
I'm actually trying to track down the original art of Siege Rhino, and I think I kind of have an idea who has it, but they don't want to give it up, so I'm kind of a little bit annoyed. But that's okay.
Well, it depends on the price, right? Or are they like
they don't want to let it go. They're unfortunately a very wealthy gentleman, and they don't need the money, so I think I'm kind of fucked.
Right? Maybe you can provide some other kind of services. Like, I don't know, that everybody wants something, right?
Sex?
But yeah, I mean, I didn't mean... But, dude, that's a very one-dimensional way of... Like, I was almost thinking about it when I said it, that people would interpret it that way, but I mean, everybody wants something beyond money and sex.
I need the gillies.
Or you could spike their drink with lots of sugar so their teeth rot, and then you could be their dentist.
Ooh, the long game. Yes,
yeah.
Good.
You know, and then they go to the police and they're like, no, seriously, like this dude, this dentist, he spiked my drink and he stole my painting of a famous rhino.
So I'm thinking, I'm debating about getting a repaint done, because it seems like a lot of the original artists are doing that nowadays. Is basically, the originals in somebody's collection. If you want kind of a reimagining or pay X dollars, I will basically repaint the thing for you. But then it's like, well, why don't I just get a print at that point, or is it worth getting a repaint? I don't know.
I like the idea of that. A repaint sounds cool because it's still done by the artist. Like, yeah, it's not the best version you could have of it if you wanted it, but I could definitely see that meaning more to you owning it than just a print and stuff.
Exactly. Cool. So I've got the original art to Pulling Teeth. So that one, well, I mean, I had to have it. As soon as that came up, I was like, that's mine. If it's not in the dentist's hands, I mean, that would just be a shame.
I would love it if you had a 4 seasons alteration of Siege Rhino, like in winter when it's like covered by snow, and summer and everything. Dude, that's amazing.
That would actually
That's a great idea.
Or like the elephants from the Lord of the Rings, right? Actually do a Lord of the Rings themed Siege Rhino.
Cool. Oh man, yeah. Actually, if you could also get those in paper, and well, I guess that the hardest part about that is actually finding a deck we can. But before we talk about modern next here, Callum, is Siege Rhino playable anywhere?
No, not even Pioneer anymore. In Pioneer for a while, there was like a Niv Mizzet deck that was just like all 5 colors, and you just play 4 Siege Rhinos and then loads of like Niv Mizzets and one-offs and stuff. But even that's been pushed out.
Obviously, the answer is a reprint of Siege Rhino with better stats. We need to upgrade it. So instead of draining for 3, we need to drain for 4. Instead of it needs to be a 5/6.
And a mana less, definitely. Just
no, I think 4 mana is still good. It just needs to be like green. Black.
I don't know. I think going 3 mana so you can hit it off Coco would make it good.
There you go. Okay. Well, anyway.
I mean, Matt, right, that Siege Rhino was supposed to be 3 mana, and I think an Offense of the Foremost was supposed to be 4 mana, and then they switched it around.
Yeah, they both could have been 4, but yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, it wouldn't have been the same Siege Rhino. It would have been like slightly weaker at 3 mana. Anyway.
Okay, Julian, what have you been up to? Tell me everything.
I've been trying to fill my quota of like staying relevant, quote unquote. I will never forget that when Mike Danielson said that, right? Julian wins barely enough tournaments to stay relevant as a podcast host.
Wow. You've been doing it a bunch this year. Or putting out results.
Yeah, it worked reasonably well. Actually, yeah, it was quite good.
Yeah, it was great.
And yeah, this month, earlier this month, I played in the Legacy Showcase Qualifier, and I'm actually like, I consider it one of my greatest achievements. I can literally tell you what that is, because now, after you've told me like for 2 years straight how all the systems work, I now know what this... Well, actually, I don't even fully know how it qualifies you for other tournaments, but I know how to qualify for this thing I played in and what's on the line and everything. So yeah, I played that, and to sum it up, this is basically a thing that happens, I think 3 or 4 times a year. I think 4 times a year.
4 times, yeah.
Yeah. And everybody who top 8'd a showcase challenge in the previous 3 months gets invited to this. And I think there's also a couple of like last chance qualifiers where I think the winner also gets invited. So usually it's like a tournament between 24 and 28 people. So this time you had 24. And it's, as you can imagine, like it's pretty high stakes, and it's also like pretty tough. Like this is not the kind of tournament where you run into somebody who's like, oh yeah, let me register my I don't know, modern deck for Legacy. Even though I hear that that's a thing lately. And I played Elves, and the list is gonna be linked in the show notes. And apparently you can literally like cut anything from Elves and still call it a deck. Because one of the biggest things, right, was when Newton cut Nettle Sentinel from the deck and just ran it, and apparently it works. Now, the list I played here, I think I copied from somebody. Was it like Fluffy? I don't remember. Oh man, I should know this.
Fluffy Tony won. He's a Swedish guy. He's won and done really well on a bunch of events. Yeah,
I'm aware of Fluffy. I'm not sure whether it was actually Fluffy, but I basically like I took the idea of cutting Quirion Ranger from somebody who had recently done really well with it on a Magic Online challenge. And that's what I did. So this list has Heritage to it. It doesn't even have Nettle Sentinel. Oh my god. What? This list is all over the place. What the fuck? This is the most bare bones list of Elves I've ever played.
It's like mid-range combo, right?
This is straight up mid-range combo, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. There's barely anything left with regards to the Glimpse Gen except for like getting some value out of it. Because
I have played more leagues, and you do win, like, it feels like almost all your games you win with Allosaurus Shepherd just activating and attacking.
It's pretty absurd, right? You end up cutting basically 8 of the core elves, and even like another one, Heritage to it. I guess we also added Eversh Reclaimer to that list. Mm-hmm. And then you just like you play the mid-range game, and I guess part of it is you also get to like play the fear of the opponent. But something that happened to me quite often is also that they would even side out Heritage to it and basically maverick those games. If you know what I mean. Like I literally just like I have this 3 mana 3/4.
I like that.
You like it?
Yeah, I love it as well. Because the fear of elves is real, right? Like, so if you play a Glimpse of Nature, a blue deck's going to be pretty hard forced not to counter it, especially if you have some mana or you're representing something, or like, you know, a pretty typical trick is like play Glimpse and then play your Cradle and then like, you know, play loads of elves and stuff. But this one like doesn't fully go off. It just presents a board while also reloading that's going to kill someone with a Shepherd, and then like they have to deal with it, and then if they do, then you just kind of do it again. So like the Glimpses aren't like as lethal from these decks, but they can be as well. So it's a hard
something
like,
you can do
tightrope.
is sometimes if you have like a crop rotation or 2 in the deck, then the Glimpses can be surprisingly lethal, because once you run out of mana, you hit a crop rotation, you guys cradle it up, and then you can often easily natural order or Green Sun Send for Behemoth. But very often, you know, the games are won before you even have to do that. Yeah. So that's also why you get to side out Heritage to it in these like more grindy matchups. And I think I also did it against Delva because I was pretty biased in this tournament. It was like the top 24 players of the last quarter, and I put in work. You know, that's somewhat surprising with regards to like my ambitions for tournament Magic lately. Usually I just try to wing it, but for this one I actually went in and predicted the metagame, and my prediction for the metagame was going to be shit ton of blue-red diver. Well, that was easy, right?
Surprise! Wow, well done, Julian. This is you come to Everyday Eternal for the hard-hitting metagame analysis.
Yeah, please subscribe to our Patreon. And yeah, the second biggest thing I expected to be was black-red Reanimator. I expected 4 black-red Reanimator players to be there. In the end, it was 3. So I was like pretty close.
Was this because of the players qualified and what they qualified with, or because you think Reanimator's good? Or
both, actually. Yeah. But I basically based most of my assumptions on what the players qualified with, but most of the players who qualified with something also played something that was like heavily attributed to their name. So
I've qualified for one of these in the past, like last year I think, and I did a similar thing. I think everyone does it, made a spreadsheet with what they qualified with, and then you scour their results and like see if they're known for playing other decks as well, so you have a backup rough idea of like what a secondary metagame could be, kind of thing. But like, for example, Canister qualifying, he played Reanimator, and he's the kind of person to run it back if it's done well for him, I think. So you can make some pretty educated guesses.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. I think the only person who really blindsided me, but I didn't end up playing against them, was XJ Cloud, who played red-green lands right instead of Death and Taxes. And at least on Twitter, it sounded like he somewhat regretted it, like not fully, but...
I think he regretted it because he didn't do great, but I thought it was actually a pretty good choice. Like, hey, I said I'd play Elves or lands. I'll back that up, even though he didn't do great. He said he played it partly because he thought it was good. He was testing with Luanil, who's another great D&T player I've shouted out a few times on here. And I think that the conclusion of, like, I think lands can definitely beat Reanimator and Delver very, very handily. And if they predicted the same thing as you, I quite like it, honestly. And I think he felt bad because, you know, D&T probably is very, very good into all the Delver as well. And so he felt like maybe he could have done better with D&T. But at the end of the day, like, matchups, even if they're 90-10, that 10 exists for a reason. Like, sometimes you do lose good matchups. So I think lands going into that event is a pretty good choice.
Yeah, something also to factor into it is what are the other players gonna do about your deck? Because when I looked at it, I think only one, maybe two players would end up playing Elves at most. And there was also like very, very little representation for Death and Taxes. So I figured, okay, maybe people wouldn't really target these decks too much. And also because of the format of the tournament, right? We play 5 rounds of Swiss, and some players at X and 2 are actually going to sneak in. You can somewhat afford to even like completely throw one matchup if it's rare, if you do well enough in the other 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that's something that factors into it for me as well. Like, I felt pretty good going into this, not going to lie.
Yeah,
and
no,
then I immediately lost the first round.
I was gonna say, and not everyone's gonna pack that specific Elves hate that you're just like, oh shit, this is what I ran into. Like, unless you're someone like me who's like, I know I'm gonna be facing Julian and I want to get that guy. You know,
main deck,
main deck, Plague Engineers, sideboard Parishes. You know, the full set of Grafdigger's Cage. You know.
Oh yeah. See, so looking at the event though, I liked both Elves and D&T especially because they could both beat Delver, obviously, and they do. But this is the kind of event where if you're playing Blue-Red Delver, I would be looking to like main deck 2 or 3 Pyroblasts, honestly. Or like Hydroblast even as well. Like, Blue-Red was going to be so represented and everywhere. Like, you're guaranteed to play it 2 times, maybe 3. If you top 8 3 or 4 times, I think you could gain a big edge by just main decking the Pyroblasts and stuff. And you have all the cantrips.
Like, you make a really good point, right? If there's going to be so much Blue-Red Delver, and you can afford for your deck to be insanely inbred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think we saw some people playing 1 main deck Pyroblast, but I don't know if it'd be good. It'd be a really interesting experiment if we could go back in time and just have one person play like 3 Red Blast, 3 Blue Blast, and see how they did, basically, without anyone else knowing about it.
And this kind of event might be worth it. The thing is, like, you
do give up the other matchups, but you still have like all the cantrips and Dragon Rage Channelers to kind of get rid of them if they're in your library, in your hand or library and stuff.
That reminds me of the thing that we actually discussed afterwards, where I don't know if you were present in that chat, but we talked about, like, if I was allowed to play Legacy Elves at a standard Pro Tour, would it, like, which odds would you give me to win the entire thing
in current standard?
Yeah, I guess.
I gotta say, like, 70.
Which is, like, insane, right? If you consider
80.
like the size of Pro Tour.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of asking, like, I think you're going to be so favored in every single matchup. It's like, how much is variance a thing? How much are you going to get screwed by your own deck? I'd probably go higher with Elves. Like, I'd say like 90-something%.
Yeah, it's just like so absurd, and it kind of reminded me of that idea, right? If you just hope that you're not gonna face, like, or actually, not to rephrase this. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because it also sparked a secondary discussion, and that is, would the other players in the Pro Tour like make any kind of choice in their deck building differently, knowing that there's gonna be one guy who has by far the highest chances of winning the entire thing because they're playing a legacy deck in standard?
Oh, if they all know it, then your chance goes down a lot, I reckon.
I don't think it would at all, almost. Because for them, like, making any kind of those choices probably heavily decreases their EV, their expected value.
It does, but I guess, again, this is where, like, there's another segment, like, which way do you go? So, yes, but for the idea at hand, it doesn't matter if some people's chances of winning goes down, because it's essentially you versus everyone else. So even if, like, if everyone, like, the whole field apart from you, their chance to win decreases because they made, like, choices to attack Elves, you're still going to fight all these people till the final.
But that's what I'm saying, right? I think none of them, like, if any of them, even like if they included one sideboard card that would be good against Legacy Elves. Actually, this is like the stupidest discussion because it's never going to happen. But I'm just saying, like, even if they included one sideboard card that was like a super dedicated card against Elves, it would hurt all the other matchups combined so much that it wouldn't be worth it to them. Because they would like really hurt their chances of going like to get like second place, top 8, top 16, whatever.
That's
Unless
fair.
like if it's your singular determination to win the entire thing, then you must do something about it, right?
Yeah.
Then you probably have something in the main deck. But if it's just like money instead of glory, then I mean, I guess getting second place in a tournament where somebody gets initial order you in turn 3, so be it.
I mean, this is the thing, right? It's like if you go into a Legacy tournament and you're like, I lose to High Tide. I can't beat High Tide. I hope nobody in this room of 200 players is playing High Tide, but if I go to the top 8 and there's High Tide in there, I'm fucked. Can you even allocate enough cards to make that matchup worth it? Or do you just want to fuck over that one person? Just like I want to do to you, Julian. If I see Elves and I know, I guess that's the good question is, do you actually gain enough points to make it worth it? Or, as you said, are you just screwing over all your other matchups? I don't know. I guess it depends on the size of the room.
It reminds me of somebody, by the way. Losing the finals of a big tournament to High Tide. Who would that ever do?
This is a really interesting discussion, though, right? About how much like percentage in which areas you're willing to sacrifice. Like for me, anecdotally, a really clear example of this is when I top 8'd the Eternal Weekend that we both did, Julian, with like Bant or 4-color Stoneblade and stuff. At the beginning, the deck often had like some main deck spell pierces, some discard and stuff, and I just got rid of that and I played more removal, and I just played like the best fair game 1 I could, just completely accepting that I'm losing to combo game 1, and then my sideboard was 15 anti-combo cards. So it's another example of like, I expected a lot of like Grixis Delver and Shardless Bug and Miracles, so I tuned the deck to beat them, and then if someone chooses to bring like a combo deck, I'll just sideboard against them. So it's kind of like picking your spots, right? So at what point do you think a matchup that's like, how prevalent is it, and how much do you think you can dedicate towards it? And by dedicating how many cards, how much do you make your other matchups worse? And it's just like the I guess there's golden standards of deck building, really, but it is interesting. Like, at what point does a matchup become so bad and plays so little that you just completely ignore it and accept that you lose it no matter what?
Yeah, and I think for me, I play a lot of tutor-based decks, like either Green Sun Zenith or Enlightened Tutor, or like, so do I feel bad about playing, like if I know the matchup is, we'll call it poor, I'm using air quotes here, but you can't see
that's a very technical term. Go ahead.
If I feel like the matchup is generally disfavorable, is it worth packing that 1 to 2 cards? And maybe it's worth packing the 1 card because maybe there's a tangential matchup where that card is also effective. But it's like, if I feel like I pretty much lose most of these matchups, maybe it's not even worth allocating the couple of cards in a tutor-based deck. It's just like, you know what? I'll just shore up those other matchups, and if I face that matchup, that's the way of the gun, right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah. The way I usually picture it is, you have a bunch of stones of different sizes sitting on your table, and you only have so much fabric, I guess, to cover as many of the stones as possible. And some of the stones are going to be really big. That's like your really big metagame decks, like Red Java. They are going to require a little bit more of fabric. And then there's like smaller ones on the outside that you'd be like, I have to stretch so far to cover these. I just let it go, that this stone, it's gonna fuck me if it comes up, but otherwise I'm not gonna cover it. And that's basically how you build your sideboard and how you build your deck. And that's in my head how these things work out.
And I think certain decks, like you shouldn't even be sideboarding for, like, for example, for Delver. Like, Delver has to be part of your main deck construction because of the propensity of that deck to show up in a tournament. Like, I think if you don't have if your deck isn't at least thinking about Delver in the main deck, like, what kind of deck are you playing? Like, so that basically just comes down to the basics of deck building in Legacy. Like, what do you expect to see?
That somehow goes back to what I said, that I think whenever I look at a new format, I always think about which aggro/tempo deck is defining the format. And that's basically what you said, right? Your main deck has to be playable against Delver in the first place. And I think that's why it is basically all the tempo decks that are telling us, if you pay like 4 mana for something, it better be insane. And if you pay 3 mana for something, it's also like, it probably doesn't have to win you the game right away, but it's once you untap with it, it's a pretty big deal, and that's a function of Delver, Wasteland, and Daze being in the format and how quickly Delver kills you, and that's also like why we were able to play more 4-color tap out cards before Delver became a thing. And yeah, that's just like the economies of mana that defines out of that, and that's
exactly. And before it was Goblin Lackey, right? Like, the times change with testing, like what can you handle, but like turn 1 Goblin Lackey for a long time was, can you deal with this card? Because if Siege Gang Commander or War Chief or whatever or Ringleader, is the second card coming down off the Lackey, what are you exactly doing about that? So I think now the test, like you said, is turn 1 Delver, pass with Daze backup. What is your plan going forward with that? And I think if your answer is I'll wait till turn 4 to cast Supreme Verdict, you might be in for a surprise.
Supreme Verdict is one of my least favorite cards that people have played in Legacy ever. It's so bad. The real answer is obviously Cavern on Rhino, Siege Rhino. But
that's why you do it, right?
Obviously.
So yeah, to conclude this discussion of Julian going to the Pro Tour with a Legacy deck. Hey, I've played in a German National Standard Qualifier playing a vintage deck, but the tournament organizer paid me for it. I guess I can disclose that now. It's over 10 years ago, and they literally just wanted my body.
Mishra's Workshop was amazing.
They literally just wanted my body to put us above the, I think, 128 limit to qualify top 16 instead of top 8. It's I just love doing, like, going turn 1 workshop Trinity Sphere, and then my opponent would be like, wait, I need to read that. And then they see the workshop and they're like, what the fuck?
But then you realize you're playing standard and they didn't play anything till turn 3 anyway.
Yeah, I basically like scooped them up, but some of them actually wanted to play, but yeah, I would just like instantly scoop. So yeah, I ended up going to the top 4 of the Showcase Qualifier. I lost the first round to Delver. I won the second round against Delver. I lost the third round to Black Red Reanimator. Then I don't really have a recollection of what happened afterwards. I won the 4th round against... It says 4-color here, so I guess it's Anorak Pile. Can we call it Anorak Pile? People know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah, like a red band, I think people have said.
Red band, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then I had one of the... Yeah, brand. Oh, God, dude. And then I had a really, really great match against Reed Duke on what turned out to be Grixis Tempo. I didn't really know how to label it because it was basically
Team Estonia. Team Estonia, I believe, was what we were calling that a while back.
Wait, isn't Team Estonia like Esper?
No, Team Estonia is red, black, blue. That's what we're calling.
But Grixis.
No?
Wait, Team Estonia is red, black, blue, but the flag of Estonia is blue, white, black.
Let's check. Hold on.
Dude, I know my flags. Don't you ever question me about flags, man.
Oh, you're totally right. Oh, then
of course I am.
What were we calling Grixis before? Oh.
I'm trying to think of a flag that's Grixis colored, but I don't think there's any. At least not on national level.
Grixis colored flags. That's what I'm going to look up on Google right now.
I mean, sometimes you can like count certain like ornaments as being part of the color, but if you think like straight tricolor flags, I don't think there's any Grixis colored flag. Guys, forgive us. This is the last episode of the year. We are drifting somewhat off topic.
Lower Saxony. Lower Saxony. Apparently, Germany has.
Are you fucking kidding me? Lower Saxony. I know what Lower Saxony is. That's like a horse on red background, if I recall correctly.
I'm just Google searching here. I'm just saying that's what it says. That's what it says.
Yeah, fuck Google. They don't know anything. Let's go to what's it called? DuckDuckGo, Bing, whatever. You guys remember Alta Vista? But so I played against Street, and he played a really, really interesting deck in the sense that was like kind of like blue-red, but it was also mid-rangey because it had black for color against command, and it also played Baleful Strix. But on the other hand, it also played, Wasteland, Daze, Ragavan. So I didn't really know what to label it. So I called it Grixis Tempo. It also played Snuff Out, and
seems cool. Snuff Out's really good currently.
Bringing out the old Snuff Outs?
Like, there's just no black creatures being played, basically. It's great.
What's the most playable creature in Legacy?
Dust those puppies
I guess
off.
Grizzlebrand and Arkanov. Yeah.
Here, Dalfi Voidwalker.
Yeah. In our second game, we had a really, really cool situation where I went kind of like in a glimpse chain, and as we mentioned, right, I can't really like draw my entire deck and do everything like you do with like regular Elves. So here I went to a glimpse chain that I knew was gonna end, but I also had enough mana to eventually Krater with him. But I always had like too many tapped creatures because Quirion Ranger wasn't a deck anymore. So I was like constantly trying to calculate how can I get overkill, how can I put the maximum number of damage on him, because I felt like there must be something, because he didn't have 6. Also, like the way sometimes people don't have 6 because they hope that you're gonna try to play around something that's not there. But the way he had played his previous turn made me think he must have something, because he could have played it in a different way that would make it much harder for me to win on this turn. So I figured, okay, there's probably something in his hand, because Reed is not stupid, right? He wouldn't like play the previous turn that way if he didn't have anything. Okay.
I literally don't know him at all, so I just wanted to say that. It could have been literally any person, and I would have said,
yeah. Okay, Matt, we gotta bring you up to speed about like the greats of Magic. I can't believe it. Anyway, so yeah, I went for the Crowd of Behemoth, and turns out he had Snuff Out, and I think he snuff out the Behemoth, and that actually, I'm pretty sure, gave him another turn, but he couldn't really find what he needed to, and yeah, he conceded, and he blessed me. He said he was rooting for me to make top 8 because I was at 3-2, right? So I had to sneak in. I lost the first round, but given that this was just like 5 rounds of Swiss, tiebreakers are a lot more swingy. So losing the first round of Swiss doesn't really... Yeah, it was. And I actually had snuck in the top 8 in 8th place. I didn't really expect it to work out. On the other hand, like tons of people I played against my top 8, so that was a chance. Mm-hmm. And then I got the rematch in the quarterfinals. I play against Black Red Reanimator again, the same guy who managed to beat me in the Swiss. And I lose the first game. I win the second game. And then the third game was like, it was the ultimate cliffhanger. It was basically like what I don't know, who's famous for putting cliffhangers in the movies? I don't know, some Hollywood guy.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I kept like a hand that was pretty bad, I believe. I can't give you like the rundown of the details. What it came down to was my opponent went for it. They tried to reanimate. Was it Archon? Was it Grizzlewind? Basically something that would end the game immediately. And the only thing I had... Oh yeah, it was in the very first turn as well. Because the only thing I had was a Once Upon a Time. I can cast that for free. I cast Once Upon a Time in response to their reanimation spell. God. And it's like a drum roll. And in my head, like literally drums are rolling. And I look at the top 6 cards.
Oh my god, it's Endurance off the Top.
It's Endurance off the Top row, exactly.
There we go.
Oh shit.
It's Endurance of the plastic chair.
Yeah. Slammy in, glass everywhere.
Yeah, they weren't happy about that, understandably, and that carried me to the semifinals, where I faced another Black Red Reanimator. You know, Callum, how you told me that deck isn't playable?
Did I?
I was actually thinking, like, I was bringing it up, like, in 1 or 2 episodes, and you always kept telling me, like, yeah, you're not convinced.
I honestly don't remember. You could totally be right.
I need somebody to back me up on this.
Yeah.
Maybe you were just, like, trolling me for the sake of trolling.
Yeah, I think I've always... I can't remember.
Yeah. So I was paired against Canister. Canister also like one of the most... I think he's like a top 20 money earner by now. He won a ton of tournaments lately in the standard realm and draft realm of Magic. He probably like... Didn't he like go to the World Championship top 8 or finals even? I don't remember. He also did really well at the Pro Tour equivalents. Like I'm not sure what they call it, like set championships.
He's this amazing mix of like... He plays all these formats like Vintage and Legacy and everything. He plays every format. He's known most from Modern and like his work on like Lantern and stuff and KCI. But he's also just like an incredible player, and he's definitely top 8. I think he won a PT, or he came second at the PT Pioneer one. He's got loads of results. You're probably right for Worlds as well. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And he played, as I expected, Black Red Reanimator. Even though his deck leans a lot more, I think, on black, he plays tons of discard. I think he... Actually, you know what? I can just literally scroll down and look at the deck list.
His list is quite different to a lot. Like, so everyone just assumes there's 4 Chancellor of the Annex, but there's just 1 in here and 3 in the sideboard. And then he has 4 Archon of Cruelty is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Do you know by heart what Archon of Cruelty does? Because I had to read it.
Yeah. When it ETBs or attacks, your opponent discards a card, loses 3 life, and sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, and you gain 3 life and draw a card.
So it's basically, like, technically it's a 6/6 flying, but it behaves more like a 9/6 flying, right? Because the opponent also loses. Yeah, it basically kills you in 2 swings most of the time.
It's absolutely incredible in the deck. It was the beginning. It was like kind of, obviously it's just worse than Griselbrand because you want to just get the Griselbrand, but like Caracas is pretty real. People are still playing it. And then you play the Griselbrand and you want a follow-up. And a lot of the time, the follow-up would be kind of Chancellors and stuff. And so if you got turn 1 and you play Griselbrand and then like a Chancellor or 2, fine, it usually wins. But Archon, like, I don't know, you draw a bunch of cards and then the Archon will keep coming back and stuff. It's just really effective. Like it completely decimates your opponent's resources, like with the ETB discarding as well, because he's also playing 4 Thoughtseize and 4 Unmask and then 1 Grief as well. So I don't know. I've seen it kind of as an end game against Delver. Like Delver, you know, if they double bolt it, they've also discarded a card at least. It's really tough to do that. The sacrificing creature is pretty relevant because sometimes you do, like, you know, pay a lot of life for the Griselbrand, or sometimes you're just, you know, taking a few turns to set up and you're being attacked by some things. It just kind of like does all these little things that all come together and make it so worth it. So yeah, it's a big addition.
I guess another tiny factor that doesn't really make the final decision on which creature you want to play, but like at 6 mana, it's surprisingly castable as well in a deck with Dark Retro.
It's 8 mana.
Is it 8?
It is, unfortunately. Otherwise, holy shit. I mean, this is like Grave Titan, big dick Grave Titan. But
why was I thinking? Oh yeah, I had Grave Titan on mind, I guess.
Yeah, probably. But it's just a phenomenal addition. I think everyone was unsure until they see how it plays, and then it just plays great. Canister was streaming the whole event, and he played against Delver loads, and then like if one just got into play, it just cleaned up, and just that Delver couldn't beat it.
Yeah. So this is where my journey ended. I lost in the semifinals, which ended up being an insanely big deal, as I only learned later, but we'll touch on that in a moment. The first game didn't really work out too well for me. The second game, I was almost feeling it. Like, I look back, obviously I made the right decision. I'm not like, oh damn, I wish I had done it differently, because it was the right decision. But I think at my 6, I shuffled away a hand that had, I think, double Natural Order and 4 lands, one of which was Bojuka Bog. And it must have been the first game, because I was in the draw. So yeah, it was the first game, but I knew he was going to be on Black-Red Reanimator, right? Because that's just like what he was going to do. And I looked at my 6, and it was double Natural Order, I think 2 fetch lands, a forest, and a Bojuka Bog. So I could send away one of the lands.
Yeah, and you just can't keep that. You can't feel bad about it. And obviously he went turn 1 Faithless Looting, I guess.
No, even worse. Like, I think he went turn 1 Thoughtseize on himself, pass.
Oh, fine. Yeah.
And he like put a Griselbrand in the yard, and he had literally nothing else. And I could have gone Bojuka Bog, take it out, and then, you know, land, fetch, Strider, but Natural Order, you know, even at double Natural Order in case you had another discard spell. But yeah, I mean, obviously you don't keep that. And if you keep that, you lose more tournaments than you win.
Yeah, that's how
so
you can
I got wrecked in the
yourself.
first game. Couldn't really get there in the second game. So I finished at top 4, which, yeah.
It was a great result still. Because I remember the week or two before, you were kind of very nonchalant about it. You're like, oh, maybe I'll play it, maybe I'll not. At least you were in, like, talking to me a couple of times. But then you said you put in some work, I guess, the week leading up to it.
Yeah, I this wasn't the very first tournament I played this, like, weird brew of, like, no Quirion Ranger, no Nettle Sentinel. I think I played it before, and I got, like, a bunch of 4-1s with it. So I was pretty confident. And I think right before the tournament, I made it even more anti-Delver. I could have done even more work with regards to Reanimator. Like if you really want to go in, you probably like put in ley lines and stuff, but that's
I'm actually surprised you didn't have ley lines. Just
the thing is,
I guess
Endurance is such an awesome crossover card for Delver, Graveyard stuff, and even Doomsday. So
it's
like
true.
when there's like 2 of those decks that I expect to feature heavily, and then I have such an amazing crossover card in Endurance, that's gonna be a 4-off for sure. Mm-hmm. And then if I wanted to put something on top, right, I guess I could have played 2 or 3 more Graveyard Hate cards. Okay, like
I'm just looking like at your sideboard. Like, I don't know if like you could have maybe cut the Force of Vigor and the Progenitus.
No, Progenitus, no. Progenitus, I don't really want to cut because it's like so important against lands, and also like that's like half the format where Natural Order Progenitus is still basically. I don't want to say your main plan, but
it's still game over.
Is it really half the format though that you can't beat? Like,
no, it's not can't beat, but it's such a big.
But how many matchups
increase.
really? Like lands and control can't beat it, but I think you beat control anyway.
Well, lands still can beat it. Like I've lost.
Okay,
like
yeah.
It's not a like 1 or 0 thing where it's like, oh, they can't beat it and those they can beat it. The card that I'm looking at cutting right now is actually Thoughtseize. And looking back, I didn't really think too much about cutting Thoughtseize because it's still like pretty good against all those 4-color mid-range decks. Like it's really good against like Force of Will almost all the time in the early game. which says something about how good it is. But I didn't really expect those decks to be that prominent, and it's not that great against Reanimator, especially like not against the current ones.
They have so much redundancy.
Yeah. So maybe, I wouldn't have hated like cutting 2 more Thoughtseizes for more Graveyard Hate, or like some kind of Graveyard Hate that's at least applicable in some other kind of way. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. I guess now that the tournament's over. But yeah, that's...
I don't know, you'd still have Reclaimer and Bojuka Bog in the main deck, and 1 Endurance in the main deck, and 3 in the sideboard, and Scavenger use. You do have a decent amount of Graveyard Hate. Like, Reanimator can just kill anyone, anytime, so...
This is just like more a thing in the context of this specific tournament. I guess I could have gone harder on Reanimator if I wanted. And like the one thing to learn is that I didn't even think about cutting Thoughtseize when I probably should have at least thought about it. That's
it's very easy
lesson.
to get so accustomed, so used to having something like that. And
I guess that's also like great why it's good to like review your games and stuff.
Yeah, see how many times you cast it, see how many times like the effect it had, how many times you boarded it in, etc.
Yeah. So the finals ended up being Canister on Black Red Reanimator against the person whom I actually predicted to win the entire tournament, in case I wouldn't win it, I guess. Javier Dominguez on Blue Red Delver, and I think Canister took it in 2 quick games. Yeah, that was an insane final, right? If you consider this to be the legacy final of this quarter, like the two,
Canister
best...
and Javier.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny because Canister hates Legacy. He chats shit about it so much on his stream and on Twitter. It's just funny that he won it as well.
Oh, is there anything specifically he says about Legacy that he hates, or is it just like more like a meme these days?
I'm not gonna say the details because I can't remember them, and I won't I might just misquote him or completely say the wrong point. But he, I don't know. I think he finds the cantrips. I think he finds the cantrips too good and really boring. Basically.
That's why we play Black Red Reanimator.
Yeah.
I think that's the gist of it. Again, I don't want to be don't quote me on that, but
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can respect that. So yeah, in the finals, Canister took it over Javier. Both are already qualified for the next, I think it's called Seth Championship. We just we keep calling it Pro Tour because that's what people understand, I guess.
I think we'll keep calling it PTs.
Yeah. Let's keep calling it Pro Tours.
Yeah.
So they both were already qualified for the Pro Tour. And now Wizards did that thing where they were like, you know what? Let's be nice. Let's invite the 3rd place guy, and I think that's BNU. Do you know BNU's real name? Because I don't.
No. They are... Yeah. They're either... I know this is a very big difference between the two. They're either Italian or Asian, Japanese, I believe. I think they're Japanese. But no, okay. I don't know their real name.
Either way, so yeah, Wizards went ahead and they were like, you know what? We're going to invite you. You got 3rd place. You lost the semifinals. And when you guys told me that in the morning, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I almost wanted to throw up because I got 4th on basically kind of...
tiniest tiebreaker.
Yeah, you could say tiebreakers because... technically,
why not also invite you?
Yeah, the thing is because I didn't get 3rd place, right? If they invite me as well, there's all of a sudden there's a 2nd invite which is not supposed to be there. So I totally I'm 100% backing up this decision of doing it that way. Also, they won 1 more match than I did, even though that doesn't really matter for. Yeah, I guess it matters for 3rd.
That can at least make you feel better. They went in at 4-1 and you went in at 3-2 in the top 8. It doesn't necessarily make the most sense the way it went out because I guess this way you have some reasoning. If they had come 4th, then they would feel especially bad. Yeah,
that one is well, right? That I could see. The thing is that the thing that made it whole for me again, where I could feel better about it, not with regards to being envious, but more with regards to oh my fucking god, I was this close, was that actually Andrea Mengucci pointed that out to me. I thought I had just missed out on over $5,000. But apparently, I only missed out on a minimum cash of $750, which is still an insane amount of money, but it's not the life-changing amount of money. I initially thought it was $10,000.
No, so you qualified for the Pro Tour, but the winner of this event essentially qualified for the Pro Tour and the Mox Playoff Championship. That's the big money one, right?
Yeah, that's the big money one. I think it's called the Set Championship. Yeah, the Set Championship. And I think that's only going to be something like 8 players, and the minimum cash is 5,000. I even thought it was 10,000, but even 5,000 is insane.
Yeah.
And I thought that one had passed down to BNU as well, but of course it didn't, right? Because Canister qualified for that.
Yeah, so he was... I've never actually seen him that kind of emotional on stream. He properly jumped up and down. He was super happy because, that tournament is, 1, very hard to qualify for, and 2, a lot of money on the line. So Grizzlebrand getting it done.
Gonna try next quarter.
What did you find annoying and again, never to take anything away from the players. I'm really, really happy that they passed this down to be new. But they're so inconsistent with pass downs because they used to pass down invites like this, and then they kind of stopped. But maybe not for Pro Tour. So I guess Pro Tours, maybe they have a set number of places they give out or something. But like for the qualifying things for the showcase challenges, they don't pass down invites anymore. They used to. So, for example, Eli, who's Goblin Lackey 1, he came 9th in the last showcase challenge, and someone was already qualified and they didn't pass it down. So it's a bit of inconsistency there, but I guess let the players take what they get.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, overall, like when I look back at this tournament, it was actually like really amazing. I just like love playing for high stakes, even though like in this case it ended up like not exactly working against me. I guess I could have benefited from a more flatter payout, whatever. But yeah, that's just like how it works with these high stakes things. And also, I generally think that like awesome high stakes stuff is really the future of Magic when it comes to like broadcasting and like getting people to actually like putting actual eyes on the game.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing well at these? Is like encouraged me to, or inspired me to play more next year, I think, because I played tons the year before.
What is that supposed to mean?
If he can do well, then you know what, I might have. Well,
I did okay the year before. I won one of the showcase challenges like Julian did, and then I came 9th in Breakers in this event, and it was so fun to play. And this last year, I've not been playing many challenges or many things online, just because I've been like, I guess it's weird being like stuck inside with Corona and stuff, but I guess the chances of going outside, I was always outside and doing things on the weekends when I could. So I've just been doing other things and being a bit more busy during the weekends. But next year, yeah, it's really, really, really fun playing and doing well at these events. So it's
yeah. I also gotta say, like, I know that a lot of people aren't happy about the format, and I see what they're not happy about, and like depending on which decks I play, I'm also not happy about it. But playing Elves right now, dude, I don't know if this list is gonna last, like the one that cuts Quirion Ranger, but this list really is heavily trimmed down on any kind of Q-chit, right? The last Q-chit, or I guess people would call it bad card, left in deck right now is Heritage Druid. If it stays like that, right? Is it like the next revolution of Reclaimer Elves now that we've also like removed anything that's like Quirion Ranger? I think they already started doing that as well. I don't know, it feels like lean, powerful. I don't know. I want to play that shit.
Yeah, no, I've played some leagues recently with it, and it did feel like, every card... Because before, when I was playing the Nettle Sentinel build, I'd still do see like upsides to it and stuff, but I guess in like a combo heavy meta game, if you really wanted to play Elves, then you would go that route, like less grindy, less mid-rangey. But it did feel like, Elvish Reclaimer was much more of a must answer than most of the other elves. So you just you fight the removal more, you play that, and then you play the whatever it's called, the Dinosaur Man, the Allosaurus Shepherd.
Yeah, the thing is, to me, it's not so much about whether Nettle Sentinel is there or not. Like the version I played in a couple of leagues right before the tournament even had, I think, like 2 or 3 copies of Nettle Sentinel. I think that's one of that might have been the fluffy list. I'm not sure if it was fluffy that I started out with when I tested for the tournament, but it shaved all the Quirion Rangers from the deck. That's like the big thing. And I never really thought that would ever happen because Quirion Ranger is so insanely good at stabilizing your mana, but dude, I like this. And it also didn't really feel like I was really using Reclaimer as much as I always think the Reclaimer version uses it. It's just like a 1 mana 3/4. And that's kind of a problem for most of the format.
I did have a fun lethal in the league against Blue Red Delver. They had a lethal dragon next turn. So I was like, I'm dead on board. I'm going to just attack with everything, see what happens. And they just blocked wrong. They let 2 Reclaimers through. So I pumped the Allosaurus Shepherd. And oh shit, there's 7/7s. Here we go.
Wait, because they have the ability. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So the opponent didn't realize that. Good one to keep in mind, everyone. They are 7/7s when you make them 5/5s.
Yeah, here goes our like quarterly piece of tech or information or education provided by the podcast. Yeah. But we've spoken so much about Pro Tours and what kind of tournaments there are. In the second half of the cast, we want to shine some light of some pretty big changes that came to Magic Online, but also Magic as a whole in the last week or two. And I think the first one I want to start out with is the thing that probably most people who play on Magic Online have heard about, and that is that Magic Online all of it, including the current developers on it, is gonna be outsourced to Daybreak Games. I'm not even sure if it's like just outsourced or whether they basically acquired the rights. So I guess there's some legal stuff in there. But from what we know, the company called Daybreak Games, they are taking over anything with regards to Magic Online. Like Magic Online is their product now. So I guess they took it over entirely. And they will run Magic Online from now. Have you heard about Daybreak Games before they acquired Magic Online?
I hadn't, but I'm not much of a gamer, he says, talking on a podcast about games. I didn't play a ton of other games, so I hadn't heard of them. Well, maybe like the name was slightly familiar, and then when you and a couple of others started talking about them and other things they've done, they did a Lord of the Rings game, I believe, and like the breakdown I got from you and a few other friends was that they kind of where old games that aren't in their prime go to, but not for their death, not to be put away, but they're apparently Daybreak are actually very positively good at keeping old games running well and stuff. So I've seen some hearsay, I've seen some things on Reddit saying, oh yeah, this is where an elephant graveyard where games go to die and stuff. But I've also heard the absolute opposite, so I think I'm pretty looking forward to this. I think it's be positive.
I mean, anybody can manage anything better than Wizards.
Yeah.
So, again, I haven't heard of Daybreak Games either, but again, could it be any worse? I don't think so. Even if it is where it goes to die, at least not changing anything and making it worse over time would be an improvement. So, I'm just shit talking. I actually haven't played much.
Yeah. But, I actually quite like it these days. Like it's kind of. It's a woodman's kind of pot of grease. It does what it says on the tin. It's not pretty. It's not fancy, but it does.
Grease is.
I guess
good.
We've actually had a lot more bugs the last year or two, which is a bit shit.
Yeah.
If they clear up the bugs,
once you go into the details, right? There's still things to be fixed, and that doesn't go into the non-technical side. I guess the economical side, especially with regards to Modern Horizons 2 and how they manage the accessibility of those cards is another problem. But with regards to the actual problem, I think the biggest change for the positive was the introduction of player points and also having weekly challenges.
I love both of these.
Yeah, that really put Magic Online on the side of, dude, I think this is a great thing. Even though it looks like shit and it looks like a game I played in the 90s, it's still addicting, right? We still put so many hours in this. And I'm curious what Daybreak Games is going to do. Because like you, the first thing I read about them is this is where old games go to die. And I was like, oh, fuck. How long is this going to be around? But then once you read deeper into these threads and you listen to feedback from people who play their games, they've done a really good job at not only keeping certain games alive, but also making them I don't know. You guys speak English. Do well.
Sorry, I was just throwing something on the ground. Sorry. You can edit that bit out. Sorry, I missed the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine. So then But then again, when you go into the threads, right, and you listen to the people who play some of the other games, you really get the idea that they are not only good at keeping the games alive, but also making them. I'm still lacking the word.
Just hum. Do you want to say the hum? Make them run?
No, not only making them run, but basically to making them become even better and even bigger than they used to under the previous developer.
It does feel like
it gives me a lot of hope.
Magic Online, as you said, the challenges and play points are a huge deal. And again, if there's some things to tweak out, if they nail them, then it'll just continue to be successful and make the money and stuff. But as you said, the economy, I think the way of play points and tickets and everything, it works okay. Entry fees are not too much either. It's totally fine to play. You want them to be good enough so that people can actually make money if they want to properly grind off it and stuff. Otherwise, you're going to lose all those grinders that you spend money for all the prelims. Prelims are an area where they need to get better at, because right now they need to find more things that you can spend QPs on, probably, or reintroduce more PTQs online or something. That's something to sort out. And as you said, Modern Horizons prices are absurd, so they really need to drive down prices, I think, because people with rental programs can't even play decks in Modern and stuff. So that's something to sort out. And just get the challenges to fire. I think just having more people on the ball on it. So for example, the Saturday challenges for Legacy haven't fired in months, but it's 64 minimum players. They could just lower that to 32 and just be on the ball about it. If if they start to have loads of players again, then yeah, you could raise it again and just have people be like looking at things and attending and stuff. So
yeah, you know, I'm even like thinking about this change in a much more meta level thingy. There's like these changes, structural changes to how events are ran and stuff. But I'm even like wondering whether in the long run we're gonna see maybe a rework of the client, maybe a rework of the entire economy to a subscription-based model. Like that's always something Wizards wouldn't really do, because you know you get into deep trouble with like the current players, you get into deep trouble with like card holder mana traders. That's just like something that would hurt a lot of people in some way. On the other hand, yeah, would also benefit from it, from more players coming in. Then it's like this weird trade-off. I guess the ones that would really get hurt is like mana traders and card holder. And I wonder now that this is outsourced to a completely different company, Wizards can be like, you know what? If there's gonna be any bad blood, it's between you and those guys, and not between us and those guys.
Yeah, this could be a long con kind of fix to get that around. That's a good point.
It's also like what I've always been wondering about the reserved list, by the way. If somebody else acquired the intellectual property Magic the Gathering, would they still be bound by a promise that's not inherently part of the IP, but a promise a different company had made?
God, I've got no idea.
I mean, that doesn't even get into whether Wizards is bound by the reserved list in the first place, which is probably like the much bigger, much more. But yeah, I've always been wondering like whether there's like this legal loophole, assuming it being a legal thing in the first place, which I'm not sure about. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. My point was like, you know, just starting off with the basics of Magic Online, but we have no idea what they're going to do. I like change. I like new things, as long as they don't end up too much worse. So I'm excited about it. A little apprehensive, because there's a lot of things I like about Magic Online as well, and you know, I do spend a lot of time on it, as does all of us. But I think it's going to be for the better. Let's see.
You know what I wonder? What would it take for somebody like Matt? Like, I think, Matt, you've always been like on and off whether you should get in Magic Online or not. I think you've asked me many times of the year what you should do to get into it. What would be something that would get you to, you know, I mean, you're pretty busy, right? You're pretty busy slapping people in the face and like pulling teeth and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But what would it take for you to play Magic Online? Like, you know, one evening a week for like 2 hours, you grind your Siege Rhino decks and then you call it a day. Like, what's currently keeping you from that? Is it like not accessible enough for you, or how does it work?
I think partially for me, some of it might be technological. Like, I guess I am not a super techie person. And for me, perhaps the daunting task of downloading a new program and paying a bunch of money and not knowing how to use the client, I guess I would want a very stone stupid instructional video of how to Magic Online. And I'm sure that probably exists out there, but I would say that I am probably busier than most, so I wouldn't say that I'm the best person to say, hey, what's keeping you from Magic Online? Because I'm sure there's other things that I'm being kept from that I'm just so busy that I don't.
The thing is, you say that, but on the other hand,
I don't make the time for it.
Okay, you say that, but on the other hand, you are a person, even though you don't get to play as much these days, your life is still like heavily intertwined with Magic as a whole, right? You're a host on a Legacy podcast. So if I was a company, I would think we probably want to do something to attract exactly that kind of person who still like feels they're a Magic player, especially like an Eternal player, right? And Magic Online for years now has been the place for Eternal as opposed to like Standard and Draft, which I guess goes more into other clients, or the other client. So as a company, you would be exactly the kind of person I would try to attract to Magic Online. I mean, there's others. There's like the completely new ones, even though they would probably like more gravitate towards Arena. But this kind of person that plays Magic but doesn't play online yet because they don't have enough time and they feel like there's a technical thing.
I think another aspect could be philosophical as well. Like, because I have spent so much of my life amassing a collection, it is a very odd thing to have to go and then buy digital cards. Like, I think for me, similar to how Sean O'Brien kind of feels about it, it's like these cards have an arbitrary value. Well, I mean, we can talk about a greater whole about how all things have an arbitrary value, but I guess it feels bad. Like, I guess if all cards cost $1 on Magic Online and I could build any deck I wanted and I hit every card for $500, like, sure, that would be fine. But to invest in digital cards that fluctuate in value feels a little bit worse than the physical cards that I own. I guess if I could somehow, if there was a system for like, oh, I already have this physical collection, can I somehow port that to a digital?
That's never going to happen, right?
Like, I know, but I'm just saying in theory that would be something as well that's perhaps holding some people back, because I know for me, it's perhaps some of it, not all of it.
What if they change this into the subscription model, like Julian said, though? So if you just paid $20, $30, $40 a month, and you could just do
would be way too much. But you go.
Yeah,
you go on.
I'm sure it'd be more probably, but
I think it would be like 20 would be the cutoff. I think if it was more like more than 20, then you wouldn't really get somebody like Matt.
Let's call it 20. Matt, would you pay $20 a month to be able to play any cards online?
Yeah, 100%. So at $20 a month, and I have access to any card, and I don't have to then sure, I think I'm okay paying for that subscription, because I'm sure we all have Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever subscriptions, right? So for me, it would be a similar model in that I get access to any card that I want, and I can play any deck I want. That might ease me into it instead of paying, say, $2,000 for a bunch of digital cards that maybe I play once a week or maybe I don't. It's like a gym membership. It feels good to have the gym membership, but whether you go or not is kind of...
Yeah, but it's having the option to do it when you want to do it, if you can afford it.
But buying all that gym equipment and having all the space and this, Jesus, not everyone can do that, right? So, I would definitely... I think if the model was, I don't have to buy the cards, I can just... Almost like Cockatrice, or what was the
Magic,
other...
Workstation, Apprentice, there were a couple.
Yeah, exactly. I would be if there was sort of I could just build a deck on that and then be like, okay, let's go play. $20 a month. I think I'd sign up tomorrow.
It's such a no-brainer as well, because Magic Online is making all the money from entry fees. They're not making I guess people do buy tickets from the store still, but it can't be more than what they get off a subscription model. The people making the money off it are the man traders and the card hoarders. Yes, it'd be harsh to put them out of business and stuff, but I don't know. It just feels like
especially since they sponsor me and everything I do.
Yeah,
I always feel guilty when we bring up the concept of subscription model.
We are talking about a small indie company, Wizards of the Coast here. So, but considering the size, I'm honestly surprised it's not happened earlier. I had a collection a couple of years ago. I had some cards on it, and I sold out, and thinking that this is going to happen eventually. And I even Jarvis messaged me saying, "You just sold out. Why?" And I said, "Oh, I think that at some point it's going to move to a subscription model, and that obviously the value of cards is going to tank massively. So I just wanted to get out." And
I like how Travis has actually hacked your computer, and he immediately knows when you're setting out. He's like the kind of guy that Trim sends to get you back. It's like, hey, come on, Callum, don't you want to retain your membership?
And one thing, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say that I am a fan of moving things to subscription-based models. Personally, in general, I don't like that idea of being on the hamster wheel forever, but you do have to admit that if there are people who are deciding to pay for the convenience, right, then there is something there. Obviously people lease cars for a reason instead of owning old German cars that cost a lot of money to fix all the time, right? So there are advantages and disadvantages. I agree that the model that is currently in place feels a lot more like paper Magic, right? I guess if you're buying the cards at different price and they go up and they go down and you trade them, and I understand that model because I know that's what I get with paper. But the question is, do I want that in my online?
Yeah. And
do I want that in my online experience? I don't know.
Yeah. And you also touched on that, right? When you mentioned that's stressful to keep up with prices and stuff. And for me, I think I only own Elves, and I might not even own Allosaurus Shepherd. I get them from Card Hoarder every time I play it. And not having any money tied up in Magic Online anymore, that's, to me, that, I don't know, it feels great. I don't have to worry whether my endurances are going to drop from whatever 40 to 20, or my Rogamans are just going to be 20 next month instead of 100 or whatever. And basically taking all of the non-gameplay related stress out of it. That's such a big thing, right? You take out the stress of having to keep up with card prices. You take out the stress of having to acquire the cards in the first place. If you improve the client, you also take out some stress that still exists in there, even though they did a pretty good job, I guess, with the client these days. I think once you take out a lot of stress, people will be very well. That's part of the peace of mind you get from having a subscription model, right? And I think that could be something very attractive. I have no idea where Daybreak Daybreak Games is going to go with this. I think the very first announcement or like the very first change they're going to make to Magic Online, whenever that is to come sometime next year, I would guess, is going to be... That's really going to point us in the kind of direction they want to take the game to. And to me, that's in the first... Like, I think the very first thing I told you guys is, this is just exciting to me. Exciting can be positive, can be negative, whatever it's going to be, but it's exciting. There's something alive and there's something moving, and I want to see what's going to happen. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. It's exciting as well. Could be bad, could be good. Again, like as you completely said, we have no idea. It's yeah, we just have to wait and see. It could be a huge
totally
overhaul.
Out of nowhere as well, right?
Yeah. But I'm excited as well. It's a good way to put it.
Cool. Something else we're excited about is, after we've spoken so much about Magic Online, paper events might come back. I guess it's still like heavily dependent on COVID. Like, for example, in Europe, we are not really talking about paper events these days because the situation is like, at least like speaking for Germany, it's really bad. And I think for...
Is it good?
No, it's really bad.
It's pretty bad here as well.
Yeah, and January is going to be even worse. Like, we kind of already know that it's going to be probably the worst month in the history of COVID in Germany. So yeah, so it's sometimes I feel weird talking about paper events when it's so bad here. I mean, everybody knows it's also not that great in the US, I guess, but still.
Well, I mean, if we all wear our rebreathers and scuba suits, we can all show up with our own portable oxygen supplies. And
are you going to make that work?
Some people don't wear like little paper masks. I think they're not going to wear scuba suits.
Yeah, I think that's more common. But yeah, so Star City Games and Nerd Rage Gaming have announced their series for 2022. I think the big differences with regards to those two organizers, SCG are going to be individual events, right? I think they're going to have an event in Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Dallas. And there's no series thing, right? There's no, you accumulate points and then you qualify for a thing at the end of the season, whatever. These are just like independent events. They're going to be, I think, mostly 10Ks. There's going to be some 5Ks. Apparently there's a 25K. Okay, that's team constructed. Makes sense because there's more players.
Yeah. So they made an actual comment in their article saying, like, we're not saying the tour will never come back, but right now everything's so in flux. They just don't want to commit to too much. But this is their first step to bringing things back. So they're called SCG cons. So I think they're actually going to be like pretty similar to GPs, except for they're going to have two main events, like one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, which... For me, I would love to play in these. Like, I mean, just looking at the first one, January the 8th and 9th, there's a Legacy trial on Sunday.
Oh, no, sorry to interrupt you. That's the Nerd Rage Gaming series.
Oh, whoops. Okay. Still, the Nerd Rage events, like, I've just loved spending a lazy Sunday just at home watching Legacy. It feels like the old SCG tour. I love... Well, I think SCG doing that as well. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong things. Yeah. Sorry, so February the 11th to the 13th, SCG Con in Philly is like Modern 10K on Saturday and then Legacy 10K on Sunday. So we're going back to this nice like two different events. So if you're more interested in one, you can watch just that one. So like the way they went to the SCG tour before, if there was like a limited or a standard open, I'd be a lot less interested in that, and so I just wouldn't watch it all weekend. But now I can, watch at least Sunday Legacy if the Saturday's not very interesting. I'm a big
culturally, that's just like something about watching Legacy on a Sunday. That's like the comfort food of Magic.
Completely comfort food, exactly. Like I was so sad when it went away from the tour in the past. Like it was just what I did. Like you'd go out Friday or Saturday, do your weekend stuff, and then come back, and then you've got Legacy on until like 3 a.m, and then you haven't slept much for work the next day. But it's comfort food is the exact way to put it. This is
very much looking forward to that.
There's coverage. I really hope so.
Oh, there is. There better be, because I'm going to be honest.
Surprise!
Not for the Nerd Rage, for the SCG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nerd Rage, the one and only Julian is commentating, I believe.
Yeah, together with Joe Lossett and NRG. So we're
oh my
god,
god,
share the shifts.
Joe's coming back.
He's never gone away.
About Joe in a long time.
No,
Has he?
He's still been commentating all the events.
Oh shit! Well, tell Joe I said hi.
I will. Actually, I have a message from him on Facebook right now. But yeah, we are. Joe, I think he's transitioned much more into Modern now. He's basically the Modern man, and I tune in as the Legacy guy, and we commentate together for Legacy Sundays.
Oh shit!
And maybe if I can get a little bit more into Monday and into Modern, maybe there's a world where maybe I'm also going to commentate that, but we will see about that. This is exciting. This is really exciting. Like
that is really exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's seeing more paper. Like, here's the thing. I think a lot of people do. Like, a lot of people started Magic because they want to play paper Magic, hang out with their friends, play with their cool cards, shuffle, etc. And, like, seeing more paper tournaments again makes me feel good. I was really disappointed when, that tournament in Missouri, the really expensive
the
one,
100K, yeah.
I was really upset when that got canceled. I understand why, and it's all fine, but it's just like, I was really excited to go to that. So it's just like, to see that there are more events coming up makes me feel good. The future is bright. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are gonna have links to all the different tournaments because I guess there's no value in like announcing all of the 7 different tournaments right now, but you will be able to see. I guess we can mention the locations. So for the Nordrage Gaming Series, the tournaments are gonna be in Illinois, Wisconsin, another one in Illinois, and another one in Indiana. And for SCG, it's gonna be in Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and Dallas.
Yeah, and the events, there's the ones in Indianapolis. It says format to be announced as a team constructed 25k. The first one though in February in Philly is Modern on Saturday and Legacy on Sunday, and then the one in Dallas is Modern on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, and the very first one that's going to come up is actually going to be the one that's in neither of those tables. That's actually going to be January 7th and 8th. That's the Nordrage Series Championship that Joe and I are going to commentate, and the format they're using is something that nobody has ever really done in Magic before. So it's going to be a best of 5 games, not of matches. Best of 5 games. Best of 5 matches would take like half a day, I guess. Best of 5 games. And both players bring their modern deck and their legacy deck. Now, for the very first game, the higher seed picks the format. So let's say the higher seed picks modern, wins. From there, the person who's behind in the series gets to pick the next format. So whenever you're down in the best of 5 series, you always get to pick the next thing. And then when there's a tie, you take turns picking the format. So everybody gets to pick once when there's a tie. So it's really, really cool because this way, you have this additional level of, do I want to play game 1 in Legacy or do I want to play game 2 in Modern? Because every time you play a format, after the first one, it's going to be sideboarded. So the second time you play Legacy in the series of this best of 5 games, it's going to be sideboarded, and the third time as well. God, this is so hard to explain without making I should put this on YouTube, I guess.
I got it. It sounds really cool. So if you lost the match before, you're going to be choosing basically, or if you're behind in the series.
Yeah.
If it's tied, then it's whoever lost the last match, I guess. Sounds fine.
Well, if it like the first time it is tied, say at 1-1, then the higher seed gets to pick, and the second time it is tied at 2-2, I think the lower seed gets to pick, or maybe it's the other way around. But basically, you in a way you take turns.
Anyway, sounds really cool. I like the idea. Like, I wonder if there's some like extra tactics to be like, start off with different formats so that you might get a win in a bad matchup to then like get the picking order different and stuff. I don't know if there is. Anyway, it seems really cool. Like, it's going to be an extra step in thinking about your deck choices as well for this kind of event.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really cool. And this is basically going to be 7th and 8th of January. And then on the 9th, we're also going to have Legacy. There's going to be the $5,000 Legacy trial, and that's going to be the event for Sunday. And that's also going to be broadcast with me as a commentator. Like, I keep talking about these things because it's just like so exciting to me to kind of recreate that wholesome feeling of like, oh, this dude, it's going to be Sunday, I'm going to chill out, I'm going to put this on my second screen and just like watch the storyline.
It's like 2012 it's like 2012 all over again.
Yeah,
right?
Ideally, right? That's what we're aiming for, and I hope that's going to become a thing, and I hope people are going to tune in, and it's going to be great. I'm really excited for this, I can't lie.
Yeah, same.
Cool. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of rejuvenation in paper tournaments, at least in the US right now. So for the third big change that doesn't really affect Eternal, but I feel it's one of the biggest changes in the history of how Wizards manages formats and Magic as a whole, that I still want to bring it up. And also I want to hear Matt's thoughts on this, because when I say it's controversial, usually people mean that it's very badly received. But here I really mean it's controversial, right? I've seen people who think this is going to be great, and I see the upsides. And there's people who think this is going to be bad, and I see the downsides. And I want to hear what Matt thinks about this. And by this, I mean the concept of alchemy. And So
Well, so turning lead into gold. No, just kidding.
yeah, that's exactly what Wizards has been doing for quite a while, right? No, but for those who don't know,
Shit into gold.
alchemy is this new thing that it's both a format but also a concept. And to break it down, I guess the easiest way to put it is Wizards from now on will be able to fix cards, to either, I guess, buff them, even though people don't really talk about buffing, people mostly talk about nerfing.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's interesting because for me, so I used to play, I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a game, Star Wars Miniatures. Do you guys remember
No.
seeing that ever?
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago? Yeah. So like that, so Wizards, I think Wizards also produced that. But anyway, when there would be like either a mistake or a balancing or whatever, if I remember correctly, because it was already 15 years ago, they would actually errata the cards and say, no, actually, this ability on this guy no longer exists, to kind of balance and keep things rolling. So I think that's really interesting because we always theory craft and we say, oh man, but what if Deathrite Shaman was actually a 0/1? Like, would that actually improve the situation? Would that really change? So I think that's a really interesting concept because obviously in paper you have to print the cards, there's lead time, there's development, etc. So that's really tough, and there's no way to, like, you can't do like a recall like you can like with a car, right? Like, oh, we have a problem, we're going to recall, come back to the dealership.
Everybody send back
right?
your Okos.
Right. So there's no real mechanism for that. So at least in the physical card sense, it's not like everybody who has Deathrite Shamans come in and get your new and improved Deathrite Shaman, which is now a 0/1. So I think fundamentally this is really interesting because this is something we've always theory crafted, right? So to put this into actual practice is really interesting. I don't really know how it's going to go, because typically Wizards is bad at managing anything, so therefore managing the format at a microscopic level
Well,
seems like it could be
the thing is,
seems like it could be a total fuck up. Sorry,
yeah,
continue.
the thing is, that they never really had a chance, right, to do these microscopic changes to fix something that maybe slipped through, because we never really did power level errata, right? I think that's been a thing for like over 20 years. That Wizards was like, no, we only do like functional errata if the card otherwise isn't working. But we don't like buff cards. And now I think the thing that we still need to add to those who don't know is alchemy is only gonna be a thing on Arena. This is not something that's gonna affect your paper cards. This is not something that's gonna affect your Magic Online cards. Alchemy is a format that basically exists parallel to Standard, the way I understand it. So there's gonna be Standard and there's gonna be Alchemy Standard. And Standard is the one that's basically cards are played as printed or as designed, whereas Alchemy Standard is the one where cards get fixed, where there's going to be cosmetic, not cosmetic, like minimal changes to cards. And I think there's also going to be extra cards introduced. I think they had a set called Alchemy Innistrad, which contains cards that only exist for Alchemy and not for normal Standard. So it's really like Wizards' fixed version of Standard that's going to exist parallel to regular Standard. And I think something that's going to be interesting is which one is going to be more popular. I think that's one of the easiest ways to kind of get a grip on whether players are going to like it or not.
Yeah, it's almost like the future of Magic Online is like it's exciting. It could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. I think this is really, really new ground, and I'm excited and I'm happy that they're trying things out. I think it's cool to see this. It could end up badly, but at least they're trying different things. As we've seen in the last couple of years, balancing from R&D hasn't been at its best, to put it politely. We've had Oko go through Standard, and they've changed things. So I believe Oko in this new set is like comes with like one less loyalty, and it's -2 rather than +1 to do stuff.
Which is like such an insane change, right?
Yeah, it's mental, yeah. And like Omnath is 5 mana and stuff. And all of these balance changes look great. And it's like, God, if these cards came out like this, it'd be awesome. And so the truth is, Magic the Gathering is partly a game, but partly a collectible card game as well. And so they just don't have the flexibility of, doing all these restructuring and buffs and balancing and stuff like games like Hearthstone can do, or like Matt said, his the Star Wars miniatures game. It's the same thing in Warhammer, where because the miniatures don't actually have the rules written on them, you can change things. So we have like balance updates every 3 to 6 months now. So it's cool. I hope they experiment with it more. One thing to see is, like, I agree that the big test is gonna be see how popular it is. The arena economy is disgustingly predatory. It's so bad. You can't even dust anything. So all the money you pour in is just like there. It's on the client, and you can't do anything about it. And then once you bought the cards, that's it. And so when they've introduced these new cards that are balanced, so then these other people have spent all their money to buy like a standard deck or a historic deck, and then they've just changed the cards, and then they can't get anything back either. So, and then you have to keep getting new things to like keep up with the thing, and it's just very expensive. So I think just plowing in more and more new cards for people to buy is we're going to start to see people turn away from it. So if they can fix the economy, then we can see if it's actually popular or not. But I believe we're going to see it like not be popular just based off how it's being introduced. But otherwise, I'm all for it. I've actually been watching a few streamers that I enjoy anyway, just playing Alchemy, seeing how these new cards interact and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would think that basically the Alchemy version of Standard is probably going to become the most dominant one, because that's probably just like where people are gonna. It's just like a gut feeling, right? I
don't even know what they do with Standard now. It just feels completely dead. Like no one plays it in paper, no one has any interest in it. Like yeah.
When you think about it, like the entire problem of this is like once again economy based, because people, they feel like we spend so much money on cards and all of a sudden they are worse now. This is like if somebody told Matt that this Porsche all of a sudden can only drive like 120 kilometers an hour or something, because we decided this.
Well, exactly.
Right? But once you start thinking about, okay, they changed Standard, so people would be pissed about having spent money and now the card is unplayable maybe even. But Wizards fixes this by keeping the old Standard around. So this, to me, this is not like, oh, we have Standard and now we introduced this other thing that people can play. But it's like we changed Standard and now we technically still have this extra option. So we don't have to like refund you or whatever.
That feels like the back door though, because people are like mostly playing Historic online. And
that's a big problem.
Their historic cards get changed because of Standard, and they're just like, what the hell? So like the way Hearthstone fixes this is when a card gets changed, you can dust it, which means you can like sell it for. I haven't played for a long time. Someone's going to shout at me and think I'm an idiot, but it's like a third of the cost or something, or a quarter, something close to that. But like that's a way to do it. Like if you used your wild cards, you used 4 wild cards to buy 4 uncommons, and then you really want to like change one deck into another, at least you could convert them into something. But currently they're just stuck there, and so some people have definitely like bought into a historic deck because of some cards. Then they've changed, and it's not like that one card has been changed so they should be allowed to change it. They've bought a whole deck to play that card, so it's pretty significant changes. And so I think keeping the normal Standard around and using that as an excuse to say, oh no, but now you have both the options, it doesn't really fly. If the cards are going to be changed in historic as well, you'd have to have like too many different versions, and then it gets all pretty messy, really.
Yeah.
And I think another option is, if we're talking about the subscription-based model, then it doesn't feel as bad, because if you're just subscribing $20 a month or whatever, then change as many cards as you want. You haven't lost any investment, right?
Yeah. The thing with Magic Online is you were decrying, saying like earlier you don't want to put in $500 to buy a deck, and the thing with Magic Online is you can sell the cards back again. Like so maybe they'll lose some money, you'll lose some money on the transactions, but like you're essentially renting them in a way. But Arena, they're just there. You can't sell them. They're just done. I think someone worked out it was Pleasant Kenobi on a very shouty, clickbaity video, but he spent like $1,000 and just about had enough to buy like everything in Standard, and then the money's just there. It's done. Like there are a lot of people that do want to play all the things and stuff.
In our, like you put it right, in a way, it's still subscription based. It's just like you pay $1,000 a season of Standard.
Yeah, it's absurd. Arena is absurdly expensive. So I only have bad things to say about Arena currently because of their economy, but Alchemy on its own is exciting as well. I think it's cool. I don't think we're going to see it like creep over into the paper side. That's like the biggest worry from people. I think that's just like a kind of a zone that they won't touch, and they are making enough money on Arena that's going to be their focus. And they're like what they do with paper is going to be a different thing in the future. But yeah.
It feels sad to say, but I'm just like, I'm relieved I'm not really involved with Arena.
I've uninstalled it a few months ago.
The concept of alchemy is exciting to me, and if it ends up burning people, it's gonna be it's gonna make me sound like an ass, right? I want this experiment to happen, but if it ends up being like failing, it's not gonna cause problems for me, but it's surely gonna cause problems for other people.
Thing is, like, it's just this level where how much can you take the piss out of your clients, and they are reaching a point where it's just like, they're not cash cows forever. You can only, like, get milk out of them for so long, and I think this is starting to reach a point where the cow's going to kick back, but we'll see.
That's a great way to close the episode. We'll see whether 2022 is going to be a year where the cow will start kicking back.
Will it yield milk? Who knows?
Will Arena yield milk?
What actually happens to a cow once it runs out of milk? It's just like there's nothing coming out?
It's slaughtered usually.
No, it has a nice happy life.
That's what you do? Okay. So I hope everybody listening to the cast, you are going to have a nice happy life for the rest of 2021 and definitely in 2022. Matt, Callum, do you have any like great plans for 2022? I want to see more of the world again.
I hope so. Going skiing in March as long as everything's okay. I would love to. My band is touring America in June, and then hopefully more things like that as well. So just fingers tightly crossed that this stupid COVID thing doesn't carry on for too long.
Awesome. And Matt, I think you told us you want to move to, I think you called it the Texas of Canada.
Yeah, so the military may decide to move us, or we may go there ourselves, or who knows. As everyone knows, Vancouver is very expensive, and who knows? We'll see what happens.
Awesome. So, quick sneak peek for the next episode. We are actually gonna have, we were supposed to have the Queen on the next episode. At least that's what our Discord guessed when I said that we're gonna have somebody who...
So for reference, I said the next guest on our next episode is one of my favorite people ever, and obviously everyone guessed the Queen because I'm English. I mean, how couldn't you? So
that's the obvious answer, right? Yeah. So we try to get the Queen on the next podcast. Not sure if it's gonna work out. But
she might swing by my flat, so we'll see.
Oh, yeah, as she does.
Yeah. Very often.
Cool. So, we're going to have a very special guest for the next episode. Next episode's going to come out sometime mid-early January, and it's going to be dedicated to providing an intro to Modern, because we've heard so many great things about Modern, especially I have heard so many great things about Modern, and we ask you on our Discord. A lot of people were very interested in that, and we will start... Like, actually, no, we will not, like, start...
You're all wrong.
Modern. I didn't want to make it sound like, oh, this is going to become a Modern podcast, because it's not. But I would love to get an intro to Modern, because I've been heavily invested into the format until, like, 2016, 17, like, really, really into it. And now for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been super out of it. I barely know what are good decks anymore. I know that Hammer is a thing, and that's that's something I want to do.
So we're getting a true expert on.
Yeah. Not only a true Modern expert, a true Magic expert. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited for that.
Me too.
Everybody, have a great new year. Matt and Callum, you too.
Goodbye, everyone.
You as well.
If you want to follow us, you can hit us up on @EternalMTG on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on @It'sJulian on Twitter, as well as It's Julian on Twitch. And Callum, I think you started streaming again, right? I think you had a stream.
I did a Vintage Cube stream. Because I'm not very well at the moment, so I was thinking, I'll stream some more over the holidays. I'm not feeling very well currently. Not the Rona, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure yet. Waiting for Tess to come back. But I'll probably be doing it again in the like kind of work evenings and stuff as we get back to it. So my Twitch is @CallumSmithMTG, and my Twitter is @CallumSmithMTG. I can remember it now because they're the same thing.
You've been practicing your name for like so many times, for so many years.
Yeah.
And if you need to get in touch with me, get in touch with Julian, and then he'll pass on the message.
You have like an actual Twitter account
that I never check. So
well, you actually used it just like a couple months ago when you wanted to sell some cards. Like, I'm following you. I see the shit.
Well, I mean, I think I was looking for Summer Forests. So if you have Summer Forests, get in touch with Julian, and then he'll get in touch with me.
But am I your agent? What the fuck?
I guess so.
Anyway, shout-outs to our Patreons who, for basically, I think 2 years by now, 2 years running, have allowed us to really keep the what's it called? The thing where you do something on a regular basis. The schedule of this podcast going. Especially our eternal witness tiers, Tommy Hinks, the Sakila, Sebastian Holager, Guillaume, Jake, and Severin Schwarzhuber, and our top tier Grizzle Brand supporters, Victor Bernatz, Bachi Butt, Scott Monroe, Jeremy Gates, Henrik Korkutz, Tom Hepp, Joel Grenahead, and Paragon Games in St. Louis. Thanks a lot, and see you again next year. Bye bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.